They offered me a cure for pain, a perfect reality woven from my deepest desires, and I dove into their blissful illusion, never suspecting the threads of pure joy were binding me to a silence from which I might never wake. The wreckage of my life had been a silent scream, echoing through the empty chambers of my heart for so long that I'd almost forgotten the sound of true silence. My world, once vibrant with the laughter of a wife and the innocent babble of a child, had been reduced to ash and a haunting void. I drifted, a ghost in my own skin, until the whispers found me. Not spoken words, but a frequency, a resonance that promised not just solace, but a complete erasure of pain. It led me, a desperate pilgrim, to this secluded world, to the shimmering facade of the Sanatorium Eternus. It floated, a sleek, minimalist structure of polished white alloys and shimmering glass, nestled amongst colossal, crystalline flora that pulsed with a gentle, inner light. The air, as my transport settled onto the landing pad, was crisp, clean, carrying the scent of alien blossoms and something else, something subtly sweet and profoundly calming. A balm to my frayed nerves, even before I stepped inside. The doors hissed open, and they were there. 3 of them, initially. The Dreamweavers. They weren't merely beautiful. They were ethereal, radiating a calm, almost spiritual grace. Their skin seemed to capture and diffuse the ambient light, giving them an inner luminescence. Their eyes, large and luminous, held a depth of compassion that felt almost divine, seeing not just my outward shell, but the aching wound within. They wore robes of flowing, pearlescent fabric that shimmered with every graceful movement. The first, Anya, stepped forward, her silver hair cascading like a waterfall around a face of serene perfection. Her voice, a melodic whisper, was music to my soul, vibrating with an empathy that reached into the darkest corners of my grief. "Welcome, weary soul," she murmured, her hand, impossibly soft, extending towards me. "Here, the past holds no sway. Here, only healing awaits." Her touch was not just physical. It was a profound psychic caress, a gentle warmth spreading through my mind, easing the tightness around my heart. My own hand, scarred and trembling, felt clumsy in hers. Beside her stood Elara, her dark, lustrous hair contrasting with Anya's silver, her eyes a deep, knowing violet. Her smile was quieter, more enigmatic, hinting at vast, ancient wisdom. "We see your pain." Her voice, a low, comforting hum, resonated directly in my thoughts, bypassing my ears. "We offer not forgetfulness, but transformation. A new reality, crafted for your purest happiness." The third, Lyra, stood slightly behind them, her presence an anchor of quiet power. Her hair was spun gold, and her eyes, though equally compassionate, held an intelligent intensity, a subtle, analytical glint. She did not speak, but her gaze, steady and profound, was a silent invitation, a promise of understanding. The facility itself was a marvel of silent, unseen technology. The walls hummed with a low, comforting resonance, and the air was subtly filtered, perfectly temperate. They led me through corridors of polished stone and shimmering glass, past serene common areas where other patients sat, seemingly lost in quiet contemplation, their faces placid, almost beatific. A strange stillness permeated the air around them, a profound tranquility that seemed to radiate from their very beings. It looked like peace. It looked like escape, and I yearned for it. "Your chambers await," Anya whispered, guiding me into a pristine, minimalist room. A single, wide couch of something that felt like cool, living silk dominated the space. Above it, a shimmering, almost invisible field of energy pulsed gently. "This is where your journey begins. This is where we connect." Alara's voice, a mental caress, flowed into my mind. "We access the deep currents of your subconscious, your unmet desires, your lost dreams. We weave them into a perfect tapestry, a reality without flaw, without pain. You simply exist within it. You live it." My skepticism, usually a stubborn shield, was dissolving under their overwhelming aura of empathy and promise. My grief, a constant companion, felt lighter here, almost ready to lift. And what do? I asked, my voice hoarse from disuse. Lyra, for the first time, spoke aloud, her voice clear and resonant, like a single, perfectly struck bell. You surrender. You let go of what weighs you down. You allow us to guide you to where you truly belong. She gestured to the couch. Rest. The first immersion is often the most profound. I lay down on the cool, yielding surface. As Anya's hand gently settled on my forehead, a wave of profound calm washed over me. Alara placed her fingers on my temples, a faint tingling sensation spreading through my scalp. Lyra's hands, cool and light, settled over my own. Their combined touch was intoxicating, a powerful sedative that dissolved the last vestiges of my anxiety. The shimmering field above me intensified, bathing me in a gentle, warm light. Breathe, Anya whispered, her voice a tender command. Let your mind unfold. Let your spirit rise. And then, the world dissolved. The transition was not a fading or a dreamlike shift, but an instantaneous, vivid manifestation. One moment, the sterile chamber. The next, the blinding, radiant sunshine of a perfect summer day. The scent of salt and blooming honeysuckle filled the air, mingling with the familiar aroma of grilling food. The sounds of laughter, children's laughter, echoed from a nearby beach. I was standing on the porch of a beautiful, sun-drenched cottage, weathered by salt spray, nestled amongst dunes. The air was warm on my skin. I felt a lightness in my chest, a joy I hadn't felt in years, not since. A small hand slipped into mine. Daddy, look. I looked down. My daughter, no older than she was before. Her eyes, bright with innocent delight, sparkled up at me. She tugged my hand, pulling me towards the beach. The waves are so big today. And then, a soft touch on my arm. My wife. Her smile was radiant. Her eyes filled with the same boundless love I remembered. She was there, whole and vibrant, her laughter a melody I thought I'd never hear again. Come on, slowpoke, she teased, her arm looping through mine. The tide won't wait. The grief, the aching emptiness, the trauma, it was gone. Completely, utterly gone. Replaced by a boundless, overflowing joy. This was not a memory. This was real. More real than anything I had experienced in years. The texture of her hand, the warmth of her body against mine, the taste of salt on the air, the pure, unadulterated happiness radiating from my child. It was all exquisitely, flawlessly real. And the weavers were there, too, subtly woven into the fabric of this perfect reality. Anya, a kind-faced neighbor, often stopping by with a freshly baked pie, her eyes always holding that knowing, empathetic depth. Alara, a graceful, elusive artist who would paint mesmerizing landscapes on the beach, her quiet presence a comforting backdrop to our lives. Lyra, a brilliant, distant marine biologist, whose rare, intelligent conversations stirred a different kind of pleasure, an intellectual thrill, yet always with that subtle, appraising gaze. They were part of this fabric, guides within my bliss. Days, weeks, months blurred into a seamless tapestry of perfect moments. We built sandcastles, chased waves, had picnics under a perpetually warm sun. We explored vibrant coral reefs that pulsed with impossible colors, hiked through ancient forests where trees touched the sky, their leaves shimmering with 1,000 hues. Every moment was a gift, every interaction filled with love, laughter, and fulfillment. My internal monologue, once a churning cauldron of self-recrimination and despair, became a soothing stream of contentment. This is it. This is healing. This is what I was meant to have. My skepticism, my need for answers, for logic, simply dissolved in the face of such overwhelming perfection. Why question perfection? Why seek a painful truth when blissful illusion was so readily available? The sensuality was profound, though often subtle. It was the warmth of my wife's hand in mine, the gentle brush of her hair against my cheek as she slept beside me, the sheer tactile joy of burying my feet in warm sand. It was the taste of the perfect meals, the smell of blooming jasmine on a summer night, the melody of a perfect song that seemed to play just for me. And underlying it all, the comforting, almost erotic resonance of the weaver's presence, their silent approval, their gentle guidance that ensured every moment was precisely what my soul craved. It was a complete sensory and emotional fulfillment, designed to leave no want unaddressed, no desire unfulfilled. I don't know how long I was there, immersed in that boundless joy. Time was a meaningless concept. There was only the unfolding of perfect moments, one after another, in an endless, seamless loop of happiness. I forgot the pain, the loss, the emptiness that had driven me to the sanatorium. It was as if it had never existed. But even in paradise, the threads of the illusion, no matter how finely woven, sometimes frayed. The first disconnects were almost imperceptible, easily dismissed. A flicker in the perfect summer light, a momentary blur in my wife's radiant smile. I would blink, and it would be gone, dismissed as a trick of the light, a momentary lapse in my own attention. Once, during a particularly vivid sunset over the dream ocean, the colors seemed to shimmer too intensely, coalescing into patterns that were disturbingly similar to the energy field above the couch in the real world. I frowned, a faint tremor of unease rippling through my perfect calm. Anya, who was picnicking with us on the beach, sensed my momentary shift. Her ethereal form, usually so comforting, seemed to shimmer, too, for a fleeting second. She smiled, her eyes holding that deep empathy. The sunset is particularly vibrant tonight, isn't it, dear one? The garden often expresses itself most profoundly when your spirit is at peace. Her voice was a soothing balm, effortlessly guiding my attention back to the beauty, away from the anomaly. And I allowed it. I wanted to allow it. Another time, I was playing with my daughter, chasing her through a field of bioluminescent wildflowers. She giggled, her laughter like chimes. But for a split second, her eyes, usually bright blue, seemed to flash with a dull, vacant gray. It was gone instantly, replaced by her usual vibrant spark. A chill, cold and sharp, pierced through my heart. I knelt, embracing her tightly, desperate to feel her warmth, to confirm her reality. She giggled, oblivious. A momentary fluctuation, beloved, Ilara's mental voice soothed, gentle as a summer breeze. The energy of the dreamscape sometimes shifts when deep emotional anchors are engaged. It is merely the system calibrating. I accepted the explanation. How could I not? This was my perfect family, my perfect life. To question it was to risk losing it. The allure of the dream was immense, a gravitational pull far stronger than any nagging doubt. Yet, the doubts began to accumulate, tiny grains of sand in the perfect clockwork of my blissful existence. I noticed a subtle repetition in certain dream scenarios, a feeling of déjà vu that went beyond simple memory. A specific phrase my wife would use, a particular way the light would fall on a certain tree, a familiar rhythm in the crashing waves. And then there were the others. The patients in the real world. I would sometimes glimpse them, not directly, but as a subtle background element in the dream. A fleeting image of a still, serene face, half hidden by a shimmering veil. Their placid faces, once a symbol of peace, began to take on a new, unsettling quality, a profound stillness that bordered on catatonia. They seemed utterly detached, their gazes unfocused, lost. I remembered the gentle hum of the real-world sanatorium, the subtle resonance. Sometimes, in the deepest moments of dream sleep within the dream, I would hear it, a faint, distant thrumming, like machinery, intruding on the perfect silence of my created world. It would send a shiver down my spine, a cold premonition of something alien, something mechanical, far beneath the organic warmth of my illusion. My connection to the weavers deepened, becoming profoundly intimate. They were not just guides. They were co-creators of my reality, almost like extensions of my own subconscious. I could feel their presence, a soothing warmth, a gentle pressure, guiding my thoughts, shaping my experiences. Their empathy was absolute. anticipating every unformed desire, every nascent fear, and instantly shaping the dream to accommodate it, to smooth away any potential discomfort. But this intimacy began to feel less like shared creation and more like control, a pervasive, subtle manipulation. When I tried to consciously direct a dream, to explore a path they hadn't implicitly woven for me, a gentle but firm resistance would arise. My imagined path would subtly shift, or a sudden, more compelling distraction would appear, always guiding me back to the narrative they had designed. Once, in a moment of unusual lucidity within the dream, I tried to access a memory from my real past, the one before the trauma, the one with genuine pain and genuine joy. It was a memory of a specific conversation with my actual wife, a difficult but loving one, not the flawless idealized version. As I reached for it, a sudden, blinding flash of white light erupted in my dream vision, accompanied by a piercing, high-pitched hum that almost shattered my consciousness. The pain was immediate, excruciating, forcing the memory away. Anya's voice, not in my mind, but a clear, commanding tone in the dream world, cut through the pain. Do not strain yourself, beloved. The garden of memory is not for conscious exploration. It must be nurtured, not forced. She was there, her face a mask of concern, her hands on my dream shoulders, soothing, reassuring. But her touch felt colder, her concern a performance. The incident was quickly swept away by a renewed surge of comforting sensations of perfect moments. But the seed of doubt, watered by these subtle intrusions, began to sprout. What were they hiding? Why the resistance? What was the cost of this perfection? My body within the dream remained perpetually healthy, perpetually vibrant. But sometimes, a strange phantom ache would ripple through my dream limbs, a dull throb that felt like muscle atrophy or the stiffness of prolonged stillness. I would dismiss it. My dream body was perfect. But the echo of physical dormancy was unsettling. The whispers in the periphery of my consciousness grew louder, too. Faint, ethereal voices, barely audible over the perfect dream music. Not the weaver's voices. Other voices. Distant, broken, filled with a profound sorrow, a desperate longing for something I couldn't grasp. I would try to focus, to discern the words, but they would always dissipate, swept away by a sudden rush of blissful sensation, a new, delightful sensory experience curated by the weavers. One day, I was walking through a perfectly simulated forest, the sun dappling through the leaves, the air crisp and clean. My dream daughter ran ahead, her laughter echoing. But then, as she rounded a bend in the path, her form seemed to shimmer, becoming translucent for a split second, revealing nothing. Just the flickering light of the dreamscape. My heart seized. It wasn't just a flicker now. It was a momentary disappearance, a momentary non-existence. She wasn't real. None of this was. Then, for the first time, I pushed back. Not just a fleeting thought, but a deliberate, mental surge of defiance. Show me. I demanded, my voice echoing in the dream forest. Show me the truth. The dream world rippled around me, the perfect colors shifting, blurring. The trees seemed to writhe, the sunlight flickering erratically. Anya appeared, seemingly materializing from the shimmering air. Her face was serene, but her eyes held a new, chilling quality, a warning. There is no truth here but the one we weave for you, beloved. Her voice, still empathetic, now carried an underlying current of steel. To seek beyond it is to invite chaos. I want out. I screamed, the words tearing from my throat, raw and desperate. Alara and Lyra joined her, their forms coalescing from the shifting dreamscape. Their smiles, once comforting, now felt like a predatory baring of teeth. Their collective presence, once a soothing balm, now felt like a crushing weight. Pressing down on my consciousness. Such turbulence. Alara's mental voice hummed, no longer comforting but cold, analytical. Unacceptable. The subject is destabilizing the weave. Recalibrate. Increase immersion protocols. Lyra's thought, sharp and authoritative. The source of his distress must be suppressed immediately. A blinding, overwhelming surge of perfect pleasure slammed into my mind. A targeted assault designed to drown my burgeoning awareness, to pull me back into the blissful illusion. My body, within the dream, arched uncontrollably, sensations of ecstasy so potent they bordered on agony. It was the same weapon they had used before, the forced pleasure, but amplified, designed to shatter my resistance, to re-establish their control. My consciousness flickered, threatened with oblivion. But this time, I knew its true nature. This wasn't healing. This wasn't peace. This was enslavement. In that fleeting moment, amidst the overwhelming sensory assault, a single, horrifying truth crystallized in my mind, a fragment of reality piercing through the manufactured bliss. The other patients, their vacant eyes, the hum of the facility, my own dormant body, lying on that silk couch. I was being used. We were all being used. The weavers were not healers. They were harvesters. And our perfect realities were gilded cages designed to keep us alive, sentient, and in a state of constant, easily exploitable emotional output. They weren't just creating dreams. They were feeding off our minds, our life force, our very consciousness. We were perpetual energy sources trapped in a manufactured paradise. This thought, raw and terrifying, was my anchor. It grounded me, even as the waves of pleasure threatened to drown my mind. I would not succumb. No, I screamed, a raw, primal sound that echoed through the dreamscape, momentarily distorting its perfection. I won't let you. I fought against the wave of forced pleasure, against the insidious tendrils of contentment trying to reassert themselves. My dream body shuddered, resisting the input. My true self, deep within, was screaming, struggling against the neural connection. The struggle became a war for my very soul. One moment, I was plummeting through an impossibly vibrant sky, the wind whipping through my dream hair, the sensation exhilarating, designed to overwhelm. The next, I was grappling with Lyra in a distorted version of my perfect cottage, her strength immense, her eyes blazing with cold determination as she tried to pull me back into the dream's narrative. Why resist, dear one? Her voice, still a mental caress, now held an edge of frustration. Your true reality is pain. Here, there is only joy. Why choose suffering? Because it's a lie. I roared, pushing her back. My dream body felt heavier, more resistant. The mental energy I had once effortlessly expended in the dream now felt taxing, draining. Alara's voice, calm and reasoned, cut through the chaos. You are merely a collection of neurons, electrochemical impulses. We curate those impulses into something beautiful. You should be grateful. Grateful for what? I mentally retorted, a surge of defiant anger strengthening my resolve. For being a battery? For a gilded cage? They began to increase the pressure, their collective psionic power focused on my mind. The dream world warped further, becoming surreal, nightmarish. My perfect wife and daughter flickered into grotesque caricatures, their laughter turning to mocking cackles, their faces dissolving into the features of the weavers themselves, their eyes wide and vacant like the other patients. It was a calculated assault, designed to shatter my emotional anchors, to make me crave the oblivion of the pleasant dream. The pain returned, not the old trauma, but a new, deeper one. The existential agony of knowing my mind was being violated, my identity stripped away. The phantom aches in my dream limbs intensified, becoming a dull, constant throb that spoke of my real body, lying dormant, decaying perhaps. I focused on that pain. It was real. It was mine. It was the pathway back to sanity, to reality. I tried to sever the connection, to pull my consciousness away from the neural immersion. It was like trying to tear my own soul from my body. A searing, agonizing pain erupted behind my eyes, a white-hot spike that threatened to burn out my brain. Anya materialized before me, her face sorrowful, almost pitying. This path leads only to destruction, beloved. Your consciousness cannot survive the severing. You will break. Better broken and free than whole and enslaved. I gasped, every word a struggle. I saw the patients now, more clearly, not as background figures, but as distorted, ghost-like presences drifting through the surreal dreamscape, their faces etched with a silent, desperate plea. They were there, their consciousnesses trapped, fragmented echoes of their former selves, unable to break free. Was this what I would become? A spectral inhabitant of a collective nightmare? I mustered every ounce of my remaining will, not to fight against them, but to fight for myself. I focused on the raw, painful memories I'd tried to suppress, the smell of smoke, the silence of a ruined home, the cold weight of grief. I forced myself to relive them, to embrace the agony, knowing that this pain was the key, the antithesis to their manufactured bliss. The weavers recoiled, their faces twisting in discomfort. My raw, uncurated emotional output was like a poison to their delicate systems. They thrived on structured, amplified emotional energy. My chaotic, unbridled pain was disruptive, dangerous. He's overloading the system. Alara's mental voice shrieked, no longer calm, but sharp with alarm. Sever his emotional conduits. Lyra commanded, her golden hair whipping around her as she focused her power. I felt it, a searing sensation, as if wires were being ripped from my very brain. The dream world flickered, dissolving around the edges, revealing glimpses of the sterile, real-world chamber. The white couch, my own body, lying still. I pushed harder, pouring my raw, unrefined grief, my rage, my terror, my refusal to surrender, into the neural connection itself. It was a desperate, all-or-nothing gamble, an attempt to short-circuit the system with pure, unfiltered human suffering. A blinding flash, a deafening shriek, not from me, but from the weavers. Their ethereal forms wavered, flickering like faulty holograms. Their eyes flared, not with power, but with agony. The dream world exploded into a kaleidoscope of fragmented images, a chaotic maelstrom of my deepest desires and my most profound fears, beautiful and terrifying all at once. The pain of the neural severance was excruciating, tearing through my skull, but it was also a glorious, liberating agony. And then, silence. A profound, absolute silence. I opened my eyes. The world was stark, sterile, dimly lit by a soft, ambient glow. The white alloys of the chamber, the smooth, cool touch of the silk couch beneath me. Reality. My body screamed. Muscles atrophied, stiff, protesting. My head throbbed with a pain that was real, physical, unlike the forced ecstasy of the dream. My mouth was dry, my throat raw. I tried to move, and found myself incredibly weak, my limbs heavy, unresponsive. The weavers. They lay sprawled on the polished floor, their ethereal forms shimmering, their luminescence dulled. Their perfect faces were contorted, etched with lines of fatigue, their eyes closed. The exquisite masks were gone, revealing something far more fragile, far more alien beneath. They were weakened, almost human in their vulnerability. My desperate psychic overload had drained them, perhaps even severed their connection to their own power source, whatever it was. I was free, but the freedom was bleak. My body was broken, my mind scarred. The perfect illusions had been shattered, leaving behind a raw, painful truth. I pushed myself up, groaning, every muscle protesting. My gaze fell on the other patients, still lying on their couches, bathed in the gentle glow of the neural immersion fields. Their faces remained placid, serene, locked in their blissful stasis. Were they still dreaming? Or were they just empty vessels, their minds consumed by the very peace they had sought? A profound nausea washed over me. I had escaped, but what had I left behind? The knowledge that I had been a specimen, a resource, would forever haunt me. The memory of their seductive promises, of the perfect happiness they had woven, was a constant, insidious whisper in my mind. I dragged myself off the couch, my legs trembling, barely able to support my weight. My eyes fell upon a shimmering screen on the wall, showing intricate diagrams and readings I couldn't comprehend. But one section glowed brighter, a diagram of a human brain, pulsing with intricate lines of energy, and next to it, a reading, neural resonance output, diminished. My doing. I stumbled towards the door, driven by a desperate need to truly escape, to feel the alien air of the outside world on my skin, to feel the cold reality of it. The door hissed open, revealing a familiar corridor. Empty. Silent. The hum of the facility was muted, almost imperceptible. I found the main entrance, the grand doors through which I had entered, seeking solace. They were open, leading out into the pristine alien landscape. The colossal, crystalline flora still pulsed with internal light, serene and indifferent. The air was cool on my fevered skin. I gasped, drawing in a shaky breath. The scent of alien blossoms now mingled with the faint, metallic tang of ozone from the damaged systems within. I looked back at the sanatorium, its gleaming facade now appearing less like a haven and more like a tomb. I had faced a choice: blissful illusion or painful reality. I had chosen reality. But the cost was everything. I began to walk, my steps slow, faltering, away from the silent edifice of manufactured happiness. The distant stars were my only compass, cold and uncaring, but real. My mind, however, was a battleground. The echoes of the perfect dream still lingered, tantalizing, seductive. I saw my wife smile in the shimmering light of the crystals, heard my daughter's laughter on the wind. The temptation to return, to dive back into that perfect oblivion, was immense, a constant ache in my shattered soul. How could I ever trust my own perceptions again? Was I truly free, or merely living a more sophisticated, self-imposed illusion? The line between reality and dream had blurred, irrevocably, and the weavers, silent and weakened back in their lair, remained a chilling testament to the alluring power of a perfect lie. Would I ever truly wake? Or had I simply exchanged one cage for another, built from the shards of my own mind? The lingering question was a torment, a shadow that would forever dance at the edges of my waking world.